Is this the last hurrah for Nate Diaz? Nate Diaz has lost big fights against Jorge Masvidal, where he probably would have got a welterweight title shot. He's lost the second fight against Conor McGregor, where he would have probably got a lightweight title shot. And he's lost against RDA, where he would have got a second title shot. And who could forget he's lost to Benson Henderson, where he lost the lightweight title. So this is a crazy one. You know, we're back again where Nate Diaz might potentially get a title shot, but it's a tall order against Leon Edwards. We are Calf Kick Sports, and we are back for another episode discussing Nate Diaz versus Leon Edwards. Tim, what's your thoughts?
Nice. Yeah. Thanks, Ash. I appreciate being on the show with Cafe Sports Podcast. I'm excited to break down Leon Edwards versus Nate Diaz. Kind of an odd fight of two guys at very different points of their career. This is like a weird, I think the term in professional wrestling is, putting the guy over the top. Like we're throwing an old guy under the bus to it gives a new guy a little bit of pop, But Nate Diaz is a fun tape study because he oddly is a person whose career is defined as much by his losses as it is as much by his wins. Because like you had said, you had talked about Jorge Masvidal, you had talked about Conor McGregor, you had talked about Benson Henderson. Could you even like his awesome losses to like Rory McDonald and Josh Thompson were really cool and fun losses. Those were just as important as his wins. Like you said, he's never actually held a title, and he's one of the biggest draws in the sport. He is actually a needle mover.
Crazy.
But it's crazy. If he had beat Jorge Masvidal somehow, whatever, he fights Kamaru Usman. What?
Yeah, I know. And he would have definitely got it as well, because I tell you something, as you said, Tim, Nate is such a needle mover. You know, he definitely brings in big numbers to the UFC, and Usman would have wanted that Nate fight. And, I think it's such a travesty that we didn't see the fourth and fifth round. It's a shame the doctor did stop the fight, because I think, fourth and fifth round, that would have definitely been we would have been able to see how he would have performed against Jorge Masvidal in the fourth and fifth. We all know that Nate Diaz is more of a marathon runner rather than a sprinter. So that would have been great to see. But yeah, I mean, it's a shame, really. I mean, he has lost a lot of the big ones, but against big names, truth be told.
Yeah, and it was a really fun fight with Benson Henderson, the Josh Thompson head kick knockout. He's had a litany of different kinds of losses, and his wins are extremely notable. Like he set the record against Donald Cerrone for strikes thrown in a fight, which was really cool. Beat like Takanori Gomi. He knocked out Gray Maynard, which this was awesome stuff. Not only that, at a time when it mattered, he outstruck a really solid boxer in Michael Johnson. Like Michael Johnson was coming off a bunch of knockouts with his hands. And then like you and I were talking about earlier today, Nate Diaz was just stringing together those lightning fast 1-2s.
He was just spamming it, man. It was just literally boom, boom, ping, 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 ping. And it was the same combination over and over again. And, sometimes he'll cut the angle where he'll change the angle, and then he'll just boom, 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 1-2, 1-2 again. And for some reason, it was weird. Michael Johnson couldn't read it. It was so odd. I mean, he was chewing up Nate's lead leg, to be fair. But overall, I mean, Nate was just pinging him with that 1-2 over and over again. And he's done that time and time again in his career.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. That 1-2, the rhythm of that 1-2 is so fast. It's like he's throwing one punch, right? It's not 1-2. It's basically just like you said, pop. It's so quick, and he's really good at it. It's amazing to me that Nate Diaz has been around for so long that when he entered the sport, he was having a feud with Caro Parisian. That's how long this man has been in the sport.
That is old school, man. That's like 2009. That's
right.
That's a long, long time ago. Yeah, I mean, this is when Caro Parisian was well known amongst the UFC fans and the MMA fans. And yeah, I would like to, on a side note, I'd love to know what happened to Caro Parisian. Honestly, I just went off a radar.
I think it's, man, I hate to say it, we won't talk too much about it. I think it's a sadder story than it is of like he had painkiller issues and just couldn't get back in, which fuck, that's sad. Anyway,
mad. Yeah,
but yeah. So
anyway, we'll refrain from going into that because that's it's going to darken the mood of the podcast.
Then we laugh. But so Nate came in we all knew him as Nick's little brother. And one of the interesting things with Nate, as opposed to Nick, is that Nick really likes to he's set in his ways. He has a few things that he does, and he always did them. When Nate was coming up through the Ultimate Fighter, we thought Nate is pretty raw, but he has a ton of potential and that he might supersede the talent of his brother. Now we're kind of at the end of his career and we have the ability to look back. Do you think Nate's legacy is better than Nick's legacy? Do you think he's a more talented fighter? Man. Absolutely. Go ahead.
Absolutely not, man. I mean, Nick's legacy, I mean, is set in stone. He's got a Strikeforce world title. But with Nate, I mean, he doesn't really have much when you think about it. I mean, he's got some really good wins. I mean, he's the tough winner. No one can ever take that away from him. But, he's not got any world titles in any MMA promotions. He might have got one in Bellator or somewhere else. Had he done that a few years ago, but yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just night and day, Tim. It's completely different. Put it this way. Look, Nick Diaz has fought GSP, Anderson Silva, and BJ Penn. I mean, Jesus Christ, man. That's like MMA royalty that you fought, and he's beat one of them, which is great. It's a great result, to be fair.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with that assessment of Nick. Just when Nick is in the zone, man, let's just do a Nick Diaz podcast. When Nick is in the zone.
Nick, man. He's so fun to talk about, honestly.
He really is. He's like just completely out jabbed a jabber in BJ Penn, was able to use length. His fights with like Frank Shamrock, Marius Aramskut, Cyborg Santos, like that run in Strikeforce was like, damn, this guy is so freaking good. Yeah. And you kind of see of like, he was getting really good at the style that Max Holloway was great. Like, I don't know. They were both kind of like unique. It used that style of extreme volume boxing. I mean, Nick is awesome in his prime.
And what I love about Nick is he never pops you with 100% ever. It's always like a 50 or, maybe at the most 70% shot, but it's very measured in the way he punches, but just the way that Nate does, he doesn't throw with 100%. And I think that's the way they've been taught. They're just taught to punch with volume and precision, as opposed to just winging shots like, I don't know, say a Michael Chandler.
Yeah, I think that's a really good assessment. I like what you're saying there. Now, I'm going to do an awkward segue to talk about a guy that, I mean, we like Nate, but I think it's safe to say that you and I both like Leon Edwards quite a bit.
Yeah, Leon Edwards is criminally underrated in the welterweight division. He's so underrated, and even by myself, I mean, I watched Leon Edwards fights, but let's be honest, as a UK fan, you're watching it at 2 or 3 in the morning, a little bit intoxicated. It's not really the best time to get a sober assessment of Leon. But in the cold light of day, when you are watching Leon tape, oh my God, this guy is just, he does everything so well. He's got an amazing left body kick. When he clinches with people, he's got a really good breakaway left elbow that he lands on. I think he's landed on every single person that he's ever fought, Leon Edwards. And on top of that, he's got underrated wrestling, man, and top pressure as well. He's taken people down like Albert Tumanov. I think he's also put some pressure on Donald Cerrone, taking him down, reverse positions on Vicente Luque, managed to defend a few early takedowns against Usman. So overall, man, Leon is a complete mixed martial artist for sure.
Yeah, and he's done extremely well in this welterweight division. It's impressive to me. So Nathan Diaz is, I would honestly say he's a lightweight, and he's currently fighting at welterweight because it's just easier to cut weight. Yeah. He's going to hit a wall with Leon Edwards where he realizes that he is not a big fighter. Leon Edwards, even for a welterweight, like you said, is a big guy, right?
Huge, man. I mean, did you see the weigh-in? I don't know if you remember this, but there was a weigh-in between him and Cerrone a few years ago, or a couple of years ago now. And it was before the fight. And Leon just looked like a fucking middleweight, man. He looked like Paulo Costa or something compared to Donald Cerrone. I mean, I think a middleweight could be a potential future for him because he's got a great frame. He's 6'2". He's a big fucking guy. But yeah, I mean, this is just too much man for Nate Diaz, surely, Tim. I mean, look what Jorge did to Nate Diaz. And Jorge is a bit of a smaller man than Leon. And Jorge showed the difference between a true welterweight and a lightweight.
Yeah, and Jorge Masvidal is not he's not the strongest clinch fighter in the UFC, whereas Leon Edwards, I think you could make the argument that he's one of the better clinch fighters in the UFC. Because
Yeah.
like you said, so as his counter, if you wanted to see what this fight might look like, I would say go watch the Leon Edwards versus Rafael dos Anjos fight, because you got a southpaw versus a fellow southpaw. Rafael dos Anjos is a little bit more of a volume striker. And what Leon Edwards did, first of all, his striking was a little bit sharper most of the time. But what he really did when the distance was being closed in on him, he closed the distance and got a clinch. And he controlled well from the clinch. And like you said, the key to this fight, I'm going to talk about a bunch of different moves, but the only one that really is going to matter is that elbow from the clinch.
Yes.
Every fight out, he cuts his opponent open. He super cut open Donald Cerrone, cut open Rafael dos Anjos. I think he scored a knockdown on Gunnar Nelson off of it. I think he scored a knockdown on Peter Sabota. It's like every fight out, he's that clinch elbow is so good.
Trademark,
Nate Diaz, trademark. That's his trademark move. Nate Diaz is a guy who not extremely strong in the clinch, especially in defensive clinches, as we've seen in past fights.
Yeah.
But he has a lot of scar tissue on his face that stopped the fight due to cut last fight out. My official pick is Dr. Stoppage due to cut.
Yeah.
Because
oh my God, mate, that is so crazy. Because literally, I was gonna say the exact same thing. Because this is like, if you could ever predict the Dr. Stoppage ever, I mean, you're talking about one of the better elbowers. I mean, you made a post about this the other day. He is one of the best elbowers in the welterweight division. He elbows the fuck out of everybody. He rocks everyone with his left elbow. And you got Nate Diaz, who isn't going to get rocked so easily, but he's going to eat a lot of elbows. And as you mentioned, he's got a lot of scar tissue. So I think second or third, maybe fourth round, it will be like a Dr. Stoppage or a TKO. I think you're absolutely right. You got it on the money there.
I completely agree. And it's just that elbow, the scar tissue
combo. Fourth round, Dr. Stoppage probably by elbows.
Dude, I totally agree. It's really hard to see this fight going any other way, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. If Nate Diaz, so there are a few keys to victory for Nate Diaz. So I was seeing some of his actual wins. And did you realize that Nate Diaz has actually gotten better at checking kicks now? So in the last fight against Michael Johnson? No, it wasn't Michael. Against Anthony Pettis. So he fought Anthony Pettis. And Anthony Pettis, he hit him a few times, and Nate Diaz checked it really nicely. And it fucked Anthony Pettis' leg up for the rest of the fight. And after that, Jorge Masvidal didn't even throw any leg kicks on him, because I think he must have watched tape and he goes, look, Nate Diaz has probably learned how to check leg kicks. So he basically just fucked him up in the clinch. So I think it's interesting. If Nate Diaz has checked leg kicks, maybe, that takes away a few weapons from Leon, but there's a lot of weapons Leon's got, man. He's got the left body kick. Nate gets hit with body shots a lot. Left high kick. He's just bad against kickers in general. He's just bad.
Yeah, the fight that we all remember so well. It's like how the meta of the sport kind of changes over time. And right now we talk a lot about calf kicks. Shout out calf kick sports. But like right now we're like calf kicks are the best thing in the world. Back in the day, like when Nate Diaz had lost to Benson Henderson, we were like, okay, so leg kicks are the money all day. And in that fight, Benson Henderson landed like 32 leg kicks out of 39. So just most of the leg kicks he threw, because Nate Diaz wasn't defending leg kicks. And it was mainly due to the way that Nate stands is a very side-on stance with his knee pointed sideways, with his foot pointed sideways. So it's like if his head is looking one way, his foot is pointed another. It's really hard to describe on audio. If I showed you a picture, you know what I'm talking about. But it's because if you kick the back of the knee and then circle behind Nate, he's essentially facing the other way. So I think he's adjusted. He still uses that side-on stance because it's so good with 1-2s and it's so good with jabbing. You can get a lot of length out of that side-on stance. But yeah, that Benson Henderson fight, I think, changed the way he thought about leg kicks, where now he realizes he needs to defend leg kicks, right?
100%. I mean, he's definitely gone better at checking it. And against Pettis, which I thought that fight was really good. It's the first time he really mixed up everything. He's striking along with his clinching and his wrestling. He took fucking Pettis down, man, which was, I give Pettis some shit, because he's always getting taken down by wrestlers. But it's still, it's still hard, man, to take Pettis down. He took him down, made it dirty. I mean, that's the only way I could think of that Nate Diaz could potentially win against Leon. Make it dirty, mix it up. But hey, look, man. I mean, as soon as you make it dirty, Leon will fucking land the left elbow in your face, and then it's over.
Yeah, and I saw the same opportunities that you did in that when Rafael dos Anjos was throwing combination punching. Leon Edwards quite often would just back himself to the cage instead of clinching, especially in the later rounds, the fourth and fifth rounds. He was doing that sort of stuff. If you're not going to clinch against an aggressive striker like Nate Diaz, that's exactly where he wants you. He's going to start racking up those punches that are going to wear on you a little bit. But the reason I really like Leon Edwards, he's on a 9-fight win streak right now, which is really cool. Have a loss to Kamaru Usman, and that's great. You learn a lot from a grinding fight like that to a better wrestler, a better clinch fighter. But the reason I really like him is like he knows the tools that he really likes to use, and he's figured out every angle where that tool will work, right? So he's basically, I love his 1-2. And he's figured out like a 1-1-2. He's figured out a 1-2 hook. He's figured out a hook into 1-2. And then he does like a lean back to bait you into strikes, which he did against Donald Cerrone or Rafael dos Anjos as well. He leans back and waits for you to counter, and then he throws a 1-2. So he's just figured out like my 1-2 is money, and it is. But then he thought like, where can I throw the 1-2? And he's figured out every angle that 1-2 works. His jab is good. His lean back is good. Good cage control. He pivots. He looks at holding the center. He doesn't chase his opponents. He tries to bait them into counters. He actually has really good like fundamental boxing. If I were trying to teach someone like boxing for MMA, Leon Edwards is like a really good place to start. He has really good fundamentals, doesn't he?
No, absolutely. I mean, I couldn't agree more in the sense that he's 1-2, and his 1-2 sets up so many other things. You got the left body kick that sets up the 1-2, and vice versa. You got the 1-2 that sets up the left body kick as well. And he likes to go high and he likes to go low a lot. I mean, a good example against Luque is when he kept doing 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, and then Luque was like, all right. He's probably going to go for the body, and he just another 1-2, and then he did the body kick when Luque put his hands up. So very smart, man. The way he goes left, the way he goes low, high, and then he mixes up with big shots as well. He's trying to put you away at all times, but he does it with patience, and he does it with, he's not going to try and rush in and try and brawl you or anything like that.
No, and like you said, he mixes strikes. I'll give you the exact stats here. I'll just use like the Donald Cerrone fight against Leon Edwards: 37 strikes to the head, 19 to the body, 28 to the legs, and 22 in the clinch. That's really balanced, right?
He doesn't discriminate, man. He's just trying to fuck you up everywhere.
Yeah. And that's a really good thing. For an MMA fighter, one of the problems is they don't mix in body strikes. Like Marvin Vettori should mix in more body strikes against Israel Adesanya. It's such a basic thing. Why doesn't this guy throw body strikes? Leon Edwards does. He's really awesome at it. Good, like you said, mixing up strikes, using the clinch, mixing in a takedown when needed. But he's mainly like mixing strikes, controls the hand, throws a tons of feint, goes in a clinch. So you never quite know what punch is coming or what angle he's coming in at. Yeah. He's a good fundamental fighter. I like him a lot. Now, if we're picking Leon Edwards, both of us have picked him via doctor stoppage. You got to assume next is probably a title shot. Is that fair to say?
100%. I mean, this is what I call the smoker event for the UFC. So UFC 263 is basically a smoker event. They're using this to bring up Izzy's image because they know deep down it's an easy fight for Izzy against Vettori. Look, I could be wrong. Vettori could smoke Izzy and I look stupid, but I don't think so. So this is probably going to be an easy fight for Izzy. And it's
should we talk about the Avatar bet with the My Mom's MMA on this one?
Oh yeah. No, we got to talk about that. Definitely. So the bet was that if we lose, what was it? We got to use his avatar, and if he loses, so I've upped the stakes for him. He has to put Conor McGregor as his avatar for a week.
And that's Mom's Basement MMA. We'll have him on next week.
He hates Conor McGregor. I mean. If there's anyone that's ever hated Conor McGregor as much as him, I'll be shocked because he absolutely hates Conor McGregor. So that's the bet. If Izzy wins, we'll use his avatar for a week. That's fine. But if he loses, then he has to use Conor McGregor as his avatar for a week.
I love it. That's shout out to Mom's Basement MMA. He's a super good guy. He puts on a good show,
Yeah,
great
he does.
interviews. Make sure to check him out. But yeah, so we were saying, so title shot's probably next for our boy Leon Edwards here.
100%, man. I mean, there's nothing else left for him. I would be pretty pissed if I had to fight Nate Diaz, and you're not promised a title shot after. I mean, that's a bit of an obvious one. It's just a smoker event again to showcase his talent. A lot of numbers are going to be there, a lot of eyeballs are going to be on Leon. So if he does a good showing and puts Nate away, or stops him as we kind of predicted with a doctor stoppage, then this kind of propels him in that title shot contention picture, because it builds up his profile as well.
I totally agree. He definitely is getting a title shot next. Kamaru Usman is on 4 defenses now. 2 of them were Jorge Masvidal, and I mean Kamaru's kind of a needle mover now too. I think they just really wanted to build up Leon as much as possible, and a Nate Diaz win is a really good way to build up a guy's name, right?
Yeah, I mean that's what that's basically. It's kind of the Conor effect, isn't it? Nate became famous through Conor. Not that he wasn't famous before, but he really transcended into that superstardom. And Nate losing to Jorge has propelled the Jorge into that superstardom. And if Nate loses, if Leon beats Nate, maybe that will kind of sprinkle down to Leon. Who knows?
Yeah, and the thing is, like, as much as you take, let's say if a fighter beats you, you take 1% of his fans. That's usually not that big of a deal. But with Conor McGregor, the fans are so voluminous that 1% is actually quite a bit of people, right?
Exactly.
Now, Kamaru Usman versus Leon Edwards would be a rematch, and both of them at the time were like fighting on the undercard, deep undercard at the time. I know it's a little preliminary, and we're going to use notes.
I can't wait to sink into this one, man. Because
but Kamaru, that's a juicy fight. Preliminary analysis. What's your thoughts on that?
He's getting smashed, man, Leon. I mean, look, as the as the British, as the resident Brit, I should be going, no, Leon's got a chance here. But look, Kamaru Usman beat Leon when Kamaru Usman didn't even have good striking. So let that sink in for a second, and not just that, Usman managed to stun Leon momentarily in that fight, and that led to a takedown. So the game plan is already there, man. The blueprint is already there for Usman to beat Leon already. And on top of that, Usman's striking is so good because of Trevor Whitman now. So this is just such a bad matchup for Leon. I was watching it, and even the whole of Leon's fights, he backs up against really strong power strikers or people with good wrestling. And guess what Usman is? He's both. So, yeah.
Man, I'm going to tell a little bit of a different story, and then we're going to get back to the point. But I remember, so I'm from Canada originally, and we had some rugby championships, and like the guys who won the rugby championship for Canada then got to go to New Zealand to play rugby. And the kids from Canada were like, we're not even playing the same game as these guys. They were going easy on our like B-level squad, and they absolutely stomped us in the dirt. I think that's one of the ways that we need to look at American style wrestling versus people who didn't do American wrestling in school, because the American style wrestling, essentially, like someone, John Fitch was talking about, I've been doing wrestling for like 30 years. I started at 8 years old. I was doing it in elementary school. I did it structurally in high school. I did it at college, university, and then I did it in mixed martial arts. Kamaru Usman follows that same path where like he started wrestling when he was a little baby. That was one of the first things he was doing. He did it in high school. It's a steel sharpened steel. He did it at a high level in university and NCAA. He was at the Olympic Training Center. So if you're a guy who now, like Leon Edwards from Europe, who started wrestling 5 years ago, you are so many more levels behind Kamaru Usman, right?
Yeah. I mean, that is beautifully said, man. I mean, that is just brilliant, because honestly, someone coming from the UK, wrestling isn't a big thing here. It just simply isn't. And in America, there's wrestling programs since when you're 6 years old, for fuck's sake, man. you're given a massive advantage doing American style wrestling. And I think it's the mentality and the mindset they have as well. They instilled that at such a young age because, many kind of MMA champions are also really decorated wrestlers, like Henry Cejudo. He even says, look, wrestling is the toughest sport there is. It's tougher than MMA. And imagine you get that instilled from you from 7 or 6 or, however young you are, as opposed to someone who's just started in their 20s. Yeah, great point.
Yeah, and it's so tough, and it's also such a dominant style in MMA of like you see guys like Matt Hughes and Khabib or Randy Couture or Mark Coleman of like if you let them an American top position, or Khabib's a bad, maybe not an American, but like that same kind of top position grappling style, if you let him pin you against the cage, there's no way out from that position. There's not a counter to that.
Man.
The counter is don't get there in the first place, right?
Yeah. I mean, what is that? There's no one that's actually gotten up from Khabib ever, I don't think. Maybe Clinton briefly, but that was it, really.
Well, I think the thing is that people get up from Khabib. He just gets him down 1 second later. He's like, fine, Dustin, stand up. I dare you. Stand up, Dustin. And he just takes him down right away, right? Same with Conor.
Try that guillotine again. See what happens.
Yeah, try it again. I think Conor got up from Khabib as well. He did a wall walk and just like, bam, 1 second later, got an inside trip. Khabib is just kind of that, like, he sticks to you. If you stand up, he'll take you down again, and it's so exhausting. That's where you got the images of Dustin where he's looking at the camera like, damn it. I know.
It's a shame that he never went up in weight, man. I think he would have been great at welterweight. I mean, this might be a bit controversial. I don't know if anyone agrees with me. I think Khabib would smash most of the top 5 of the welterweight division, including Leon Edwards. He'll probably smash him as well. And he'll probably put up a good fight against Usman. I think he could potentially snatch the title somehow. But yeah, it's a shame he never went up to welterweight.
Yeah, I agree. I'm a big fight fan. Yeah. Let's throw these guys in there. I want more super fights. I think Kamaru Usman is a massive guy. How his wrestling fares against Khabib's. It would have been nice to see if someone could use some length, because Khabib. We can turn this into the Khabib show and the Diaz show.
That's fine. Yeah. It's fine, man. We'll just transfer it into whatever.
Yeah, because I mean, let's be honest. Khabib and Nate Diaz get clicks more than Leon Edwards does. But Khabib in his run really didn't fight that many wrestlers. He fought pretty much style wise. They were all strikers. So how his style fares against an NCAA Division I level of wrestler would have been a pleasure to see of how this squares up. And I don't know. Kamaru Usman would probably just size on him, strength on him a little bit, but that's just kind of my prediction. I know we won't see it, unfortunately.
I know. I mean, it's a crazy one. But yeah, maybe reverting back in terms of the it's good to just go on a tangent sometimes. But yeah, I mean, just reverting back to the Leon fight potentially against Usman in the future. I mean, let's be honest, that's probably what's next. Do you think Leon's got a chance? Do you think he's got a hope in hell?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna get hyped on the coming into this fight of like maybe that clinch elbow might actually be money going into this fight. Outside of that clinch elbow, no, probably not. I don't see many opportunities for Leon. I think he gets his back against the cage. I think it's Kamaru Usman's fight to. Sorry, say it again.
It's just gonna be single upon single, man. Just getting taken down and then or double legged repeatedly, because Usman's a clever fighter, man. He's not gonna want to stand up with that, and he didn't, man. Even in the first fight, he was like, "No, I'm not standing up with any of this, man."
I totally agree with you. I can't see the fight going too many other ways. But what about our boy, our tough winner, the Nathan Diaz? If he loses,
winning. Okay, look, let's live in La La Land for a second. So, guys, we're gonna take you here, yeah. Nate Diaz, he stops Leon Edwards. He turns to the camera, bloodied, completely bloodied, and he's like, "I'm not surprised, motherfuckers," because he's got the welterweight title shot against Usman, and the world goes crazy. Now, if that happens, Nate Diaz is probably going to die against Usman.
Yeah, he would. He absolutely would. He would. I agree with you.
He would. Oh man. I'll feel sorry because Nate would just get smashed, man, on the ground. he might even get knocked out on the feet as well with Usman's new hands.
Nate Diaz doesn't. He's not going to do well at welterweight. He's not going to do well against any of the welterweight top fives.
He's not a top three fighter. Period. I mean, that's
no. I totally agree with you. He needs to go back down to lightweight if he wants to be competitive, and I'm not sure that he actually.
No, I don't think this. I think that's more of a Shark Tank, Tim. I have to disagree with you.
Go on.
If he goes down to lightweight, look who he's got. Yeah, he's got Charles Oliveira. He's got fucking he's got Justin Gaethje. He will tear the fuck out of his legs. Dustin Poirier, who could probably knock him out or put him on his back here for the entire fight. Maybe Conor McGregor, that's a good fight for him. He could probably potentially beat him. But even Beneil Dariush should probably take him down and smash him. Yeah, I think lightweight is probably worse for him to have a chance at. I mean, aside from Usman's an animal.
I mean, I can't disagree with any of those points. He loses to the top five in both welterweight and lightweight. I mean, that's just kind of the style. He's a little bit smaller. Like these guys that, like you said, Justin Gaethje would just kick out his leg. I totally agree with you on every point. Disagree with nothing there. But let's say Nathan Diaz loses. What do we do with our boy? What do you do with him as a matchmaker?
Masvidal rematch. That's what I would root for because it's a big money fight. And you know what? It's probably not even bad for him to lose because if he loses, he'll get the bigger money fight fighting Jorge Masvidal a second time than fighting Usman, which probably won't be as money generating, which is weird.
Yeah, I see Nate Diaz taking up the same. We pretty much had this discussion a few episodes ago on Jorge Masvidal of like if he loses, he's just in the position to essentially be a prize fighter. Now Nate Diaz very much is in that same position because the other opportunities for him are like Jorge Masvidal rematch, which is big old money. You can put it back in Madison Square Garden and say like now we're doing rounds 4 and 5, like all these people want, or like a rematch with Conor McGregor, depending on what Conor does in the Dustin fight. So it's essentially just Nate is going to be a punching bag full of money for other people.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's basically just, a way for the UFC to cash out. This is probably the UFC's, ultimate dream plan. If they could pick all the decisions that they had in front of them, this is what they would do. This is what would happen. So Nate Diaz will beat Leon Edwards, and he'd also beat Usman, and then he'd be the welterweight champion. And then Conor, he'll go on a run. He'll go on a 3 or 4 fight winning streak, and then they're gonna set up the double champion rematch trilogy. That's what they would love that, man. I mean, that would be the biggest money fight of all time.
I can't disagree with you, but that's a great fantasy. Yeah, I love the
biggest fantasy of the UFC. I'm telling you, they won that.
Yeah,
fuck it, man. That's my biggest fantasy, man.
Yeah, that's it, man. Yeah, that's just that's a fan fiction and a half, I would argue there. But yeah,
that's like the wildest MMA dreams of all time, isn't it? Like, and then midway through that, Tim, after Conor has beaten Nate Diaz to be the second or the fourth double champion of all time, Khabib comes back and he just beats the fuck out of Conor.
This is ridiculous. But yeah, okay, that's actually the most plausible thing you've said is that Khabib's like, Conor's champ, I'm coming back.
How dare he?
All right, so we both picked Leon to win. We both picked Dr. Stoppage due to cut, due to an elbow, and I love that. We both picked Leon Edwards probably loses to Kamaru Usman, and then Nate Diaz is just a money fight for like Jorge Masvidal or Conor McGregor. I mean, yeah, it's hard to disagree with any of those angles. What else do we need to cover off before we head out of here?
No, I think that's it, Tim. Just really looking forward to kind of reviewing that flyweight rematch between Davison Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno. That's going to be a fucking banger. I can't wait to review that. So that's the next podcast, guys. Make sure you listen out for that one.
Yeah, we have our last episode was the Israel Adesanya versus Marvin Vettori 2 breakdown, and we did about 35 minutes on that fight. So really do check that out. I'm on the Art of MMA podcast this week. Make sure you check that out. Links will be in our profile or on the Twitter or Instagram, whatever. We're going to have Mom's Basement MMA, and Hayes is on next week as well. So make sure to listen for that one. Mom's Basement MMA, we have a Avatar bet going on. Tomorrow we'll have the Figgy versus Moreno 2 breakdown up. So really just keep it on the Calf Kick Sports Instagram because we're going to have so much content coming the next couple of weeks here. It's going to be a really fun, exciting time for us. Thanks for listening, folks.
Have a good one, guys. See you in the next one.